Okay, so before we left, we were able to control this character but not move his animation state. So we're going to change his animation state to walk with some code. But first things first, we got to go into our animator here, and we have to change this walk so that from any state, we're going to make a transition by right-clicking here, make transition over to walk, okay? And then we have to tell it how and when. So this seems a little complicated right here, so I'm going to slow down just a pace, and we'll walk through it. Okay, so up here I have this layers, which is what we're on, and then I have these parameters. Now I can create a new variable in here called a new float parameter, because remember we're dealing with floating point values, so I want a floating point parameter, and I'm going to call it walking. Alright? So if I click on this little transition button here, I can get a condition. So I've just created this parameter walking up here under this tab, and then I clicked on this transition we're going to make. And then if I go over here to conditions, I can hit plus button, and it's going to find that parameter we put in, walking. And if there was more than one parameter, which there will be, I'll have a drop-down menu here. So my condition is, if walking, this parameter, is greater than 0, then he's going to walk. All right? Then it's going to follow this path to the walk animation from any state. Right? So if my walking variable is greater than 0, then he'll walk. Nothing's going to happen right here. I'll even prove it. We'll go into it, and I'm moving around. Nothing's happening. That's because we actually have to solve this in code. So we had to set it up here so that if this condition is true, he'd walk. But now, in code, we have to actually tell it to do this. So let's go back to our code, our script, and we'll write an if statement. You'll see if statements in code all the time. You might as well get used to it now. An if statement asks a question. So we're going to say if input.getAxis, and we'll actually ask if horizontal. So we're going to grab the horizontal axis, and then if that's greater than 0, what are we going to do? We're going to say animator.setFloat walking, and then we're going to give it 1 float. All right? So this seems a little complicated right now, but I promise it'll start to make sense. We're going to ask a question. If our axis horizontal is greater than 0, and we know it will be, animator.setFloat walking to 1. So then it should play the animation for us. Okay? So this code is incomplete. We need to tweak it, and you'll see in a second. I'm going to hit save, and we'll go back. We'll go back to our game, and let's press play and see what happens when we start moving forward. Okay? Nothing. Except for when I go horizontal, he starts walking. All right? And then he just goes into this limp walk. All right? And breaks it down. A couple things we did wrong here, and a couple things we need to fix. And I'll try to slow this down and break it down for you. So number 1 in our code, we don't want horizontal, we actually want vertical, up and down, right? Because that's actually moving forwards and backwards. So that'll solve one problem. We'll go back to our game, press play, and now when I hit W or S, he's walking. Albeit, he's in this gimpy little phase right here. So I'll stop. We'll go to our animator and see if we can't find out what the problem is. Let's click on this walk animation. We know that let's go into project, go into animations, click on walk. It is looping, so that shouldn't be a problem there. So the problem is probably right in here. We have this little transition thing. So if we hit settings here, we don't want it to be a fixed duration, do we? All right, so let's go ahead and save that, press play, and now he starts walking. But then he goes back into that gimbal crunch thing, right? And he just stays there. We're actually going to fix this in code. All right? So if I go back into code, I need to put an else statement on this. Else, because we've set our float to walking 1F and it'll just stay there. And what we could do, we could just set it to vertical instead of 1F. We could set it to whatever vertical's at, just like that. And it would do the same thing because this is a floating point value right here. So we can set that to vertical, but we need to turn it off if the axis is not being hit anymore, right? If vertical is at a 0, else animator.setFloat walking to 0F. All right. So we need to finish out this else statement with, I'm sorry, this shouldn't be a parenthesis, it should be a bracket. Right. Right? Okay, so we should be good to go there. Let's go ahead and save this and test it and see what we've got. Press play. Okay, so I have a compiler error. Not a big deal. We have this happen all the time. Let's see, and we know that it is on our controller, line 27, 246. So let's go to line 27, and oh, okay, I can tell you what happened here. We need an extra bracket here, right, for this update, because this is the class, the public class. So we were missing this bracket here. Not a big deal. We go back into our game, press play, and we have another one, okay? Beautiful thing is we know it's 2413. So let's go back. Oh, okay. See this? We didn't capitalize set float there. All right, so again, you have to get your syntax exactly correct. That'll drive some of you crazy. Those of you who it drives crazy, just know you'll probably be more of an artist than a coder. That's okay. But you can learn, just as I have, to look at the code, find out what's going on, and fix it. Because I'm more of the artist too. So we make sure to save this, go back, press play, and then we either walk. Okay, so we still have a problem here. What's going on? He's just stuck in walk mode. It would seem permanently, right? So go ahead and stop that. Let's go into our animator. We need to go back and make a transition. We'll right click, make transition to idle, because if he's not walking, we want him to go into idle, right? So we need to set up conditions on this. So if walking is less than 1, all right, then he'll go into idle. And this should work for us, okay? We'll go into settings, and we won't do fixed duration. We'll go ahead and save that, press play. Now he's either walking or he's not. Now there's a goofy transition going on there, and it's causing us problems with this stutter, as well as it takes him a while to stop after I hit the key. So on all these animations, I always like to go into these transitions, and I like to slide this over and make it really short, like just really short, okay? Same thing here. Slide this over and make the transition short. Hit save, go back into the game. Now when I release the button, so we have a lot of things to fix with our animation here. So in the next lesson, we're actually going to start coding this out, and I'll explain what's going on here a little bit, and I'll see you then.